Okay, let's talk a little hoops. You got the brackets out. What's the expectation now that we know Michigan and Michigan State, what the draw is and who they're playing?
I think the expectation will be interesting to hear from Spartan fans. What do you expect from this team? I think they have Final Four potential. And once you get to the Final Four, honestly, anything can happen. Am I predicting they get there? I don't know. I haven't filled out my bracket yet. I don't necessarily know that I'm going to choose them to be a Final Four team, but I think they're in a region that they can be a Final Four team. Michigan, I think the ceiling is Sweet 16. I'm not going to sit here and predict that that's where they get. Again, I haven't filled out my bracket, but I think that's the ceiling.
Yeah, we just want your first blush if you're listening right now. Like, you see it, you have a reaction. What do you expect?
And some of it goes to, okay, what I saw in the Big Ten tournament. What I saw there was what we saw at times throughout the regular season. And there was a stretch where they were starting to get decent, I'm not going to say great guard play, but decent guard play. And you look at them, against, since that Purdue debacle down at Mackey, they got a little bit better guard play. They got some shooting. And then it felt like, hey, when they played Michigan State, it all vanished. It all went away. They couldn't find it, even against Nebraska and Rutgers. Nebraska was one of the most painful games I've watched in college basketball in maybe a decade. But they won. That's the whole point of the game, is to play to win. And then they play Rutgers, and it was the same thing. It's sometimes a painful watch because of the amount of turnovers, and then it was a debacle against Illinois, a loss against Maryland, and just an embarrassment against Michigan State. And you're thinking, and I said this at the time, I don't know that they win another game. Then they go to the Big Ten tournament, and maybe it was the rest, right? They had 4 or 5 days. The big guys got a little bit of their legs back. I don't know. But they looked much better against Purdue, Maryland, and Wisconsin. Wisconsin was still kind of a painful watch.
Yeah, that was
But they won.
And they won.
And so how much do you believe they have confidence? Because it doesn't matter how much confidence we have. Do they have confidence that they can go into the tournament and win 2 games? And if they play against UC San Diego, and it's a mismatch, right? On both sides. Mm-hmm. You get some guards, and they like to force turnovers. Michigan likes to give the ball away. Is that the storyline of the game? Is that the outcome of the game?
It's going to be one of the big trendy 12-5 upsets.
Or is it Michigan because of Area 51, 2 7-footers, one that can handle the ball? Like, are they just going to outsize UC San Diego? Both of those could be the storylines. I think you pick one, and then what happens in the second round against either Texas A&M or Yale? I'm not going to sit there and say that, I don't think they can win, but I'm also kind of in that mindset of, well, I'm not sure they can lose or win. Like, I think I said win first. That's why I had to go with the lose. I don't think they can lose. I don't think they can win.
But they are a hard team.
Somebody will.
They are a puzzling team, an infuriating team, Michigan. Let me go back for a second. Let's start with Spartans. 2 seed in a region where they start in Cleveland, Ohio. That's a favorable draw.
Good for them.
Their region features Auburn. Scary Auburn. They've lost 3 of the last 4. Vulnerable. I'm not telling you Auburn's a bad team all of a sudden, but that team is mortal. That's your 1 seed who's not playing well going into the tournament. The 3 seed is Iowa State, and they had a big injury early in the year, and they got another injury right now to Gilbert. They're clearly not at their best. They're not 100%. The 4 seed is Texas A&M, who likes to crash the glass. MSU's a good rebounding team. I think if it comes to that, they match up well with the Aggies. The 5 seed in the region's Michigan, who they've beaten twice by double digits. So if I'm an MSU fan, I feel like I got a really favorable draw. That doesn't mean anything if you don't go out and deliver, right? You can't have a cold shooting night. The other team can still have a point guard go off for 30, hello, Wisconsin, and your whole season can come crashing down. But I like the draw for MSU. I think the expectation should be Final Four for this group. They're deep. They're not relying on any one player. They defend, which is huge in the tournament, shutting the other team's water off. So I really like what happened with MSU in their draw. I actually like that they're in the same region as Michigan. They've never met in the tournament, so for people who want to extend this rivalry out, there's a better chance that they'll actually see one another. But I don't think Michigan's getting very far. I think they're losing in the opening weekend.
Okay.
And I think they're going to be a trendy upset pick in round 1 because of what you laid out. Michigan has some flaws. They're a deeply flawed team. Turnovers, rebounding, if they were to advance, they'd face likely Texas A&M, which could really get them beat. It could be that Illinois game all over again if they face Texas A&M. I think they get bounced in the opening weekend. And it's kind of a damn shame because I think they have a real legitimate beef with where they were seated in this tournament. For all their flaws, they do have 11 quad one wins, fourth most in America. They're somehow seated lower than Purdue, who they beat twice.
Wisconsin, who they beat twice.
And by the way, better in the Big Ten regular season than those teams. I think Michigan was a victim of something that happens every year. The committee sets the bracket before the Big Ten tournament's over. And it's not right. It's not right when it happens to Michigan State. It's not right when it happens to Michigan. We're keeping score. We're playing games. It's on TV. You can have placeholders and swap them out. Like if they had swapped Purdue and Michigan, what harm does that do? If they had swapped Michigan and Wisconsin, what harm does that do? You don't have to redo the whole bracket. I think there's a legitimate beef if you're a Wolverine fan with being seeded fifth. I think knowing what your flaws are and then getting this pot of teams too, you may feel like they did you dirty.
But in picking Michigan, and trying to pick Michigan, which I probably will to get through the opening weekend.
Surprise.
There will be great agony. What happened in that Wisconsin game yesterday? I looked away for a few minutes, and all of a sudden they're up 14. And what happens? They come back, and they give away the lead.
Yep.
It just, this is what this team has been, even in the games and the moments that they've played well. I don't know that there's been a game where you can look at it and say, well, that was 40 minutes of really good basketball. They just dominated that game.
Nope.
Because they get up, and then it could be a 14-point lead, and then it's gone before you even know it. And then you start playing the games, well, maybe I shouldn't watch. Maybe it's me.
It's all your fault.
Yeah.
248-539-9797. We want your instant reactions. You know the seeding. They're in the same region. How far do you expect the Spartans to go? And for Michigan, it's a complicated question. They've won 3 in a row. Maybe they're starting to heat up, or you're just not buying it. They're not going very far. Let us know. It's 97.1.